Away we go. It is Chicken Dinner, the 16th time we have talked live with you on a Thursday night. Welcome to it. Divisional round of the NFL playoffs. Notre Dame's one final bullet and a grr-off between Dan Campbell and Dan Quinn. We will talk to Patrick Everson coming up at 7:15 Eastern. He is as tapped in as it gets in terms of covering the Las Vegas betting scene. We will talk to him about all things he's hearing about these huge NFL football games, what the books are saying, what the bettors are saying, and we'll tell some stories about Super Bowls past, because Patrick and I have partied together for several Super Bowls in Las Vegas, and I'm sure you gather there's a lot to be said about this Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen tilt on Sunday in Buffalo. Remember, Buffalo actually opened as a 1.5 favorite in Vegas, and that lasted less than 24 hours, as now the Baltimore Ravens are the favorite, 1.5, depending on where you shop. We'll talk about all those games. We'll talk about the big one Monday night, Notre Dame and Ohio State. Somebody was very upset at my hedge conversation, which we'll also get to. And then about 7:40 Eastern, we'll see what's going on the college basketball board with Corbie Craig. As I do now, if you're watching on YouTube and X, we're going to share the board and give you an idea of what's exactly shaken with the numbers on these 4 playoff games. Let me go from basketball to football here on the Odds Logic board. So Kansas City hanging tight, about an 8.5-point favorite against Houston. No real surprise there. Buckeyes at 9, BetOnline's at 9. I don't know how high we're going to get collectively, and you can see a lot of these places are taking stances. So they have Circa at 8, Superbook at 8.5, and then some of the offshores at 9, 9.5, all predicated on the action at hand. We do know, and the stats have been thrown around, Steve McKinnon does a great column for VSiN with trends and things like that, and he's mentioned all year how Kansas City has not been good as a touchdown favorite or north. The number's 0-5-1 ATS. Not a big sample size, but also not any wins as a big favorite this season. That said, Kansas City is off the bye, and Kansas City is maybe as healthy as they've been all season. So you take that for what it's worth. Very low total, 42 on the open, down to 41.5. You know what's going to be popular this week. People are going to parlay Kansas City and Detroit on the money line. KC, Detroit, and Philly on the money line. People have even floated the idea of a favorites parlay. Just take all the substantial favorites and wheel them together. I'm not doing that because I do think all these teams are good enough to at least win a game. But Kansas City, Detroit, Philadelphia, Notre Dame, Ohio State, excuse me. Obviously, Notre Dame going down. So if you wheel Kansas City with Detroit, with Philly, and Ohio State, how does it lose? Well, it could lose. I felt a lot better about the first round of the college football playoff, taking all of those favorites at home, which we did and we talked about. Washington, Detroit, high totals usually come down. People like to go under these big numbers. Open 56. I see South Point right now. Chris Andrews and company have a 55. A lot of 55.5 as you go across the board and take a peek. It's a lot of points. But my favorite number in the game is actually a prop between Washington, Detroit, and that's the punt prop. Oh, baby. Yes, we do have a punt prop. 5.5. That's it. Over is -160, I think I saw. Under plus a quarter. I don't think I would take the over. We know Detroit steal. As much as I make fun of Dan Campbell and anger the Simps, I do respect the Detroit Lions. They know who they are. And I think it took a while, but Dan Quinn finally embraced the 4th down aggression, which I don't think he would have done when he was the head coach of the Falcons all those years ago. He was a punt and trust my D guy. Now he's we're going for it. Regular season, Washington went for it 23 times on 4th down and got 20 of them. 20 out of 23. Almost 90%. So I don't know that I would be looking at the over for 5.5 punts. Philly and LA, we've seen this meeting already. Philadelphia ran down their throat all game. This is hanging 6 most places. Pinnacle just moved down a couple cents, 6.106. FanDuel does have a stale 6.5. I don't think there's another 6.5 that I can see. So if you do like the Rams, which again I don't, but take the 6.5 there, lay the 15 cents. I mean, you're going to win on 6, obviously, and then the totals come down. I think this is just a tough spot for the Rams, who are now getting super popular because we start to see all the images of Matthew Stafford holding the trophy and Sean McVay holding the trophy, and they've done it before. They can do it again. I don't think so. I don't think they get out of Philly alive, let alone beat Philly in the winner of Washington, Detroit. And the Rams have been very good with the pass rush as of late. The Eagles are going to run the ball. And as long as they protect the football, they'll be fine. That's what I think. Saquon last meeting, over 300 yards of total offense, by the way. That's it. Only 300 plus. And Baltimore-Buffalo. Whew, is this going to be a highly handled game? We talked about the initial push on the Ravens to get them out to 1.5. I do expect we're going to see a pushback on Buffalo. As we know, limits get higher as we get closer to kick on Sunday. I don't know if it's pick. I don't know if it's Buffalo 1, but I don't think it's Baltimore 2. I think this is sort of the ceiling of the Ravens' price, at least. I could be wrong there, but you start to see, this 1 get really expensive at Pinnacle to take the dog. Baltimore -1, -103. Circa's got the game at a pick. That's indicative of a move back to the home team. And Josh Allen in this role, you don't see it very often. It's enticing for people to at least play them to win a game in the playoffs at home. It makes sense. So total, both teams are going to try and run the ball. We know that. James Cook props are going to be popular. Obviously, Derrick Henry props are going to be extremely popular. He took the first handoff in the first meeting, 87 yards. And that was a game that was basically over at halftime, 21-3. And then final score 35-10. I don't think it's going to be that lopsided this time around. And you can make the case that Buffalo is actually healthier than Baltimore right now. And Zay Flowers did not practice again today. So did not practice Wednesday, did not practice on Thursday. As Baltimore sits about a 1-point favorite with a total of 51. As for Monday, Ohio State, Notre Dame. I'm not going to spend much time on this. Everybody knows where I stand. I've got Notre Dame to win the whole thing. Said last week I wasn't going to hedge. I had an opportunity to take Ohio State to win the title, -15. Didn't end up doing it. I thought, you know what? I'm going to gamble a little bit, see if Texas can win, because the perfect thing for me would have been Texas beats Ohio State. Texas opens 2.5, 3, and then I can just lay that money line. I can take some units out of that 10-unit pot, bet it on Texas money line, and get out of there. Hang out, drink a bunch of whiskey, enjoy the game, make money no matter what. The math becomes a lot more complicated with a favorite that's -350 and -360. That much is obvious. And I'm not at this point in my life. It's not life-changing money for me. But you've seen the ticket. I mean, it's $1,000 to win 10. And I want to pull this up right now. Somebody just got really upset that we talked about hedging on the Bear Bet show. Here it is from Coach Fisher. Really popular account, a lot of followers. For the amount of time Sammy spent talking about hedging a 10-1 ticket, I really hope you have 500 plus on the ticket because nobody cares. 10-1 isn't 100,000 to 1. It ain't life-changing, bud. I didn't bring it up on the show. It was brought up to me. And I said what I said last week. I'm not hedging it. I don't think I'm going to win. Obviously, Ohio State's an 8.5 point favorite. I hope Notre Dame wins the turnover battle. I hope they put pressure on Will Howard, and maybe their man defense can stand tall against 3 really good receivers. I'm doubtful. I'm skeptical. I don't think Notre Dame is going to win. If they do, fuck yeah. I'll be very excited. But it wasn't a place mathematically that I was going to hedge. If Texas played Notre Dame, yes, I'm in. I'm betting a nice chunk on Texas on the money line, and we're good. But you look at this money line price as I go from spread to money line on the board. This opened Ohio State just north of $4. Yeah, there it is, $4.10. Now, if I was going to, which I won't, you'd go and you'd make the bet on Ohio State at this number, 350, and not these numbers at 375, 375, 380 over here at Circa. You obviously lessen the load with a cheaper price. I do think too, like you're going to get that game day money on Notre Dame. It's going to come in. This happens a lot. Championship games, Super Bowls, big boxing matches. People like to bet a little to win a lot, and they're going to bet, $20 to win 60 or $100 to win 300 on the dog. So I do think it might get a little cheaper, but then you'll see people that'll want to lay Ohio State. So this is probably a good indicator of where we close. Ohio State like minus 350. I'm just not cutting into a 10-unit pot with a favorite of minus 350. Not going to happen. But I don't understand like why this person's this upset about spending 4 minutes of a 43-minute show about a future bet involving one of the two teams remaining. How else do you fill a 40-minute show on a national championship game? And this guy says nobody cares, but he tweeted a paragraph about it and then tweeted like 7 more times about it, calling me sensitive, which is very funny. I love when people talk shit and then you respond and then I'm sensitive. It's a 5-figure piece of paper right now. I think it's interesting. I do hope that Notre Dame keeps this up. I will say for the Notre Damers out there, and as people know, I grew up in Chicago. I don't love Notre Dame. I'm rooting for them on Monday, but I'm not this like diehard bleed Irish guy. I do love Jameson, but I'm not a Notre Dame apologist. I hope they win, and I hope that they continue to dominate the middle 8. I would just say also don't let them hang around. But this Notre Dame narrative, it's been fun to follow. Nobody wanted to bet them. Everybody was betting Indiana with the points. And then they weren't going to beat Georgia. And then they weren't going to beat Penn State. And after those 2 wins, they're lucky. And now they can't beat Ohio State now. We'll see. Don't let them hang around. You better beat their ass. You better blow them off the field. Because if you let that thing hang around, that's when Notre Dame has proven that they are resilient enough to keep a game in striking distance. So we shall see. We'll get to Patrick Everson in just a second. I did want to bring up one more thing, and this is about the handle in my home state, Illinois. Covers.com with the story. Illinois sets new records for monthly sports betting handle and revenue. Naturally, this is how Illinois does it. They report everything way late. We are in the middle of January, and we are now just getting the numbers for November. But that's a different story for a different day. Land of Lincoln, according to Covers, generated the highest handle ever in a month of $1.53 billion. And the most revenue of $154.6 million during a bounce-back November. I always love the term bounce-back. The house generally wins every month. Maybe not as much in October as they would have liked, but I wanted to go and scroll down here, and I was surprised at the disparity between operators. So DraftKings in the month of November took in a handle of $500 million, $527.1 million. FanDuel, $512.4 million, another book that took over $500 million in handle. And then number 3, according to Covers, is Fanatics. That was surprising. Fanatics, $118.7 million. Bet Rivers, $85. BetMGM, $78. Caesars, $64. And then I did see, where was Circa? Circa was only 13.9 in the month of November in Illinois, which I was surprised it was that low. But really, DraftKings and FanDuel, who did, ironically enough, threaten to bail out of Illinois because of the tax rates, said, maybe we'll stay. Maybe we will stay in Illinois. These are the 2 books that promote the most parlayable menus. So it is no surprise that DraftKings and FanDuel, the number 1 and number 2 books in the country, are getting bigger and stronger in a massive state. Fanatics on line 3, but Fanatics almost $400 million less in handle than FanDuel. Those 2 are just Coke and Pepsi right now because their apps are clean. Their functionalities are solid. And most importantly, you can parlay the most shit. Anybody surprised by that? You can make your same gamers. You can make your correlated parlays. You can do your 8-leggers on guys to make X amount of 3-pointers or have X amount of block shots or whatever. They take bets like that. Their limits aren't great for people that win, but most people don't win. Pay attention and look at the hold on these parlay numbers if you get a chance. Go look at the parlay hold percentages in the state of Illinois in November. Extremely high, which should not be a surprise at all. All right. I see my guy right here, the one and only Patrick Everson, Vegas Insider, my teammate at Fox Sports. I talked to you last week on BetQL Daily, and I said, I really got to get you back in the mix on these Thursday shows. So I appreciate you joining me, and it's always a pleasure to see a man who appreciates a good slice of thin crust Chicago pizza.
Absolutely. And thanks to you, I have like several. For those on the show who don't know, Sammy annually shoots me like a 4 or 6 pack of thin crust Chicago pizzas, which I greatly appreciate. And it's obviously nice to be back on the show as well. Thanks for the invite.
I had the thin crust the other day. I had the sausage, pepperoni, and the hot giardiniera.
Mm-hmm.
I'm embarrassed to admit I ate the whole thing by myself. It is what it is, but you understand.
Oh, I absolutely understand. I have something here. What is it here?
What do you got?
Oh, that's a St. Patrick thing for my son. It's something about eating a whole pizza, and it's like more you should take great pride in that. So good on you. I'm glad you sat down and just harnessed the whole thing. That's the beauty of Chicago thin crust pizza. You can just pound it. I mean, you can't do that with a deep dish,
No, you cannot. No, you
cannot. And if you could, you'd feel a lot guiltier, and you'd feel a lot worse, by the way, too. But the thin crust is made to be devoured. So thumbs up on that accomplishment.
You can follow Patrick, by the way, on X at @PatrickE_Vegas. So we first connected many years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I was doing morning radio in Chicago. I was up at like 6 a.m. local time. I was on the air 7 to 12. And I was, as I told you back then, I was constantly refreshing your Twitter feed because you were up bright and early. So if it was, 9 a.m. Chicago time, you were up at 7 a.m. local time, already at the keyboard, firing out nuggets about big bets and sharp information. And we connected then, and you've been coming on this show for, it's crazy to believe, 7 years now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's always about the information and what you're hearing from Vegas. We have 4 NFL games, 2 on Saturday and 2 on Sunday. What's your favorite thing so far that you've heard about the final 8 teams this week?
Well, and that's almost the way I put the question to Joey Fiesel at Caesar Sports yesterday. I talked to him midweek each week to just kind of get a pulse of where things are going halfway through the week, if how things are developing. And what he thinks is most interesting, and I think it's pretty interesting too, is, and look, everybody's going to think this is interesting, is the Ravens-Bills game. It's just a monster game. You already alluded to it a little bit earlier in the show here. And what he noted is these are the top 2 teams in our power ratings. He said it's really kind of interesting to see the market treating these 2 teams as the best in the league. Caesars, they rank both of those teams ahead of the Chiefs, which means they obviously rank them both. If they're 1-2, they're also ranked ahead of the Lions. So this is, very, it would be a brain dead decision to do anything otherwise, but it was a very smart move for the NFL to put this game in the Sunday night slot, the last slot on the divisional round weekend. It's going to get massive handle. But what I also thought was interesting is, and you noted that the line on this game, Buffalo short favorite, has gone to now short underdog. Ravens now a short road favorite. I'm not necessarily surprised that it jumped the fence, but I thought it would just be more of a development of, it's partially a development of sharp action. That's what Joey Fiesel said at Caesars. But, he did say it's been all Ravens money coming in so far. And that surprises me a little bit. I think they're both great teams. So I got to think that maybe the pendulum swings a little bit back, but there's a lot of time between now and Sunday night, but we shall see.
It's starting to swing back. I mean, we already have some shops that are either at Pick'em or getting close to a Pick'em, and that's going to be a game. I wrote a story today. I talked to a couple guys, Tony Miller at the Nugget, who basically has said the same thing all season. damn favorites.
Right? Exactly.
Every week he says the same thing. He's like, they come in, they want to parlay this favorite with that favorite, with that favorite. And I go, oh, and they're probably going to wheel it to Ohio State. And he said, yep, that's what they're doing. So he needs one thing. Colucci at Rampart, which is wheeled into South Point. They're reporting good two-way on the game, but I can't imagine that we're going to see anything like north of 2.5 on either side. Like, this feels like you're going to get people that come in and want to take a piece of Buffalo as a dog. And then if it gets to pick 'em or Buffalo -1, you'll see more money on the Ravens. This feels like a great game for the house to just scoop the juice and move on, right?
That may be the way it works. I did also talk with Tom Gable at Borgata Sportsbook in Borgata Sports in Atlantic City about this too. And keep in mind, Borgata's got very close proximity to Philadelphia. It's about an hour away in Atlantic City. So obviously the Eagles would get really well bet there. But he said midweek, this has been the most heavily bet game of the weekend slate in what is essentially a coin flip game as the odds show. And to your point, he said this game's going to stay around a pick 'em. We have a little more money on Buffalo, but no real decision here. So a little bit different than what Joey Fiesel was saying at Caesars. But yeah, it seems like you're going to get a lot of action on both sides of this game. And New York is a huge state, among sports betting jurisdictions. It's the behemoth of all of them. So, and granted, Buffalo is not New York City, so we're not talking about the Giants or the Jets, but this is just going to get massive money in the state of New York. It's going to get massive money for Tom Gable's sportsbook in New Jersey and sportsbooks across New Jersey and across the country. So yeah, I think it should end up, the odds almost say, look, this should be a two-way game. And I think it will be by the time they get to kick off, and they'll just, like you said, scoop up the juice and maybe, maybe hope people eschew either or both of these teams in their money lines. They're certainly going to be taking the Chiefs. They're certainly going to be taking the Eagles. They're certainly going to be taking Ohio State, and they're going to be taking the Lions. So,
well, I think we're going to see sharps on both sides of this Baltimore-Buffalo game, but that leaves us three other NFL games and the big college game on Monday night. People love that word, sharp, and I think that's probably one of your biggest drivers of traffic when you report sharp information. And when I do the video with Murray in the regular season, people love to hear about what the sharps are betting at the counter or on the app. Have you heard anything that you can tell us about any of those other three games or the college game in terms of where the sharps are putting their money?
Right. Well, as I alluded to, +1.5, +1 at Caesars on the Ravens, which I know we've already discussed. The only other one that Joey Fiesel pointed out, again with Caesars, was on the total in the Texans-Chiefs game, Sammy. He said they bet under 42.5 to take that down to 41.5. So that was the only, at midweek. I'm sure there's going to be more coming in, and maybe there are other there's certainly other sharp action that's come in. Just this is what Joey's seen at Caesars so far. But yeah, just the Ravens early in that Bills game, and then under 42.5 on that Texans-Chiefs total.
As for Ohio State, Notre Dame, I know you're going to say a prayer for me at Mass for Notre Dame.
Oh, God, yes.
I know. Think about how many more pizzas I can send if Notre Dame wins. I don't feel great about it, and this total hasn't really budged all that much. 46. A couple books have ticked up a little bit, 46.5 as I look at the screen now. And we did see a push. I was texting with a couple guys actually on Sunday. And ironically enough, the guys who were betting the Denver Broncos and moving that market on Sunday also bet Notre Dame. And they came into a couple books in Vegas. Superbook was one of them. They cleaned the 9.5s off the board, and then they cleaned the 9s off the board. And now we're at 8 at a couple places. I don't know how much lower we go, Patrick, because we have seen a couple places go to 7.5 in the last week, and it instantly gets shoved back. People are excited to lay 7.5 with Ohio State, and other people were excited to take, the 9.5 and the 9s with Notre Dame. 8's probably a good guess on where we close, but what are you hearing from your Vegas buddies about the national championship on Monday? Right.
And actually, Joey Fiesel, he's here in Vegas, but he's speaking for Caesars nationally. And I also went back and forth with Seamus McGee at BetMGM. nationally. He's based out of New Jersey, and they both are singing off the same sheet here. And that is that they think they're going to need an Ohio State win and a Notre Dame cover. So they just, they're both rooting, both those books and probably others are just rooting for a close game here, Sam. Not wanting Ohio State to roll over Notre Dame and cover the number. But as Seamus McGee said, he said there is plenty of interest on the Notre Dame money line, which when you factor that in with another aspect of what odds makers have to manage this week, and that is the futures book. And actually, they've been managing it for multiple weeks. You and I talked about it last week with what John Murray was saying at the Superbook with this, how his situation had evolved between Texas and Ohio State over the last few weeks. But they've got to factor that in as well. And that's what Seamus McGee said BetMGM is doing. He said, with interest on Notre Dame money line, the Irish are a small loser for the book when coupled with the futures book. And I'm guessing that's a situation that Joey Feasel has the Caesars too. But he said, we'll probably need Ohio State to win and Notre Dame to cover that, plus number in front of Notre Dame, plus 270, 280, whatever it is at this point, is going to be attractive to the betting public. Betting a little, I think you mentioned it at the top, betting a little to win a lot, betting 20 to win 60 or so, or betting 100 to win, $300 or so is going to be pretty appealing. And they're just such a massive national public program, as is Ohio State. But that's what I think they're going to be looking for. Kind of, Joey called it a couple of weeks ago. Again, Joey Feasel at Caesars called it the Super Bowl middle, where they want the favorite to win and the dog to cover.
Right. Well, I don't necessarily care about the sports books getting what they want, as I'm sure a lot of the audience doesn't. I hope they pay out all those Notre Dame numbers. And, we have some people listening now that I know got some 11-1 and some 12-1. I was trying to bet a couple places at 11-1 and couldn't get down what I wanted to get down. So I had to take a lesser number to get a bigger payout and did bet some 10. The Ohio State thing has been very fascinating to me. We talked about this morning with Joe O and myself. And, we had a video that came out right after the Ohio State Michigan game. And it was a video on social that got like 700,000 clicks, which I still don't understand how that's possible. Yeah, for a little old betting show on the internet, I thought that was wild. But we were saying at the time, you don't want to be the 1 seed or the 2 seed. You want to be a team that comes from the 5 or the 6 or the 8 or what have you, because you get that first game, you build that momentum, and then you roll it forward. And that video, I'm talking about Ohio State getting hot. And the fallback or the resistance to the video was Michigan just beat Ohio State. How can Ohio State make a run? And now we go from that point, which is 5 weeks ago, that Ohio State, can't beat anybody because they lost to Michigan. And now we're at the complete opposite end of the spectrum where Ohio State is almost unbeatable. And I was never there, and I'm never there. I'm always sort of in the middle. You know what I mean? But to go from a team that people didn't want to talk about to make a run to then everybody betting them on the day of or the day after the Rose Bowl, it can't be both. Like they can't be dog shit and they can't be unbeatable. The truth is in the middle, right?
Absolutely. I think the truth is in the middle. But, this is what the odds makers have seen the last couple of weeks, ever since they got through mowing down Tennessee. Joey Feasel at Caesars, he said it's been all Buckeyes the past couple of weeks. And that's what I'm hearing from everywhere. DraftKings, BetMGM.
Yeah.
Caesars,
they were happy
Superbook.
to take those bets at -110 and -15.
Exactly.
You want to bet that? Come on in. We'll give you whatever you want on that. So that's how they've written their handle off in the liability, because everybody's betting them at -110.
Yeah, it's certainly in the middle. But going back a step, Sam, to your point about the 5s, the 6, Ohio State was the 8. Looking at those, this is something that, and I hope I'm not going too far into the Wayback Machine here, but at Bet Bash this summer, Bud Elliott had a panel, and it was Bud Elliott and my colleague at Action Network, Brett McMurphy.
Yep.
And they discussed something that I thought was fascinating, and it made me make some bets right away that I lost. I went in on Ole Miss early in the season thinking maybe they had a shot to be like the 5 or 6, which would give them, the way it's set up, a path that is really good for the college football playoff. But what they said was if you want to put something down now, really early in the season, preseason, think about a team that might take second or third in the SEC and get in the playoff and be like a 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 seed, something like that. And they said, if you don't, wait for the playoff field to be set and then get one of those kind of middle seed teams, 5, 6, 7, 8. Take somebody in there, maybe take a couple of somebody's in there, because you're going to get, a better number than you will on the top seeds. And there's going to be some value there. And that's, that probably happened to a degree with, if you jumped on Ohio State after the Michigan loss, I'm sure the number was a hell of a lot more attractive than it's gotten over the past 3.5 weeks or so.
Yeah, no, I was getting a lot of texts after Ohio State is just pummeling Oregon.
Mm-hmm.
That's when you get the text like, I like Ohio State to win it all. Yeah.
Well,
I bet you do.
I bet you do now. Where were you 2 weeks ago? I mean, did you get involved 2 weeks ago? So like you did. I mean, granted, you said you would have liked to have gotten a better number on Notre Dame, but you got in early and it was right after the first round, right?
No, it was right when the bracket came out.
Oh, okay. So you got them pre. Okay, so that's our pre-tournament.
We actually bet it. Joe and I were on the air. I believe it was a Tuesday morning, and that was when the initial report came out, I think from WSB television in the South, that Carson Beck was likely not going to play in the championship tournament, right? His elbow was bad, and he was out. So we looked at the path, and it was Notre Dame, Indiana. They're 7.5 at home. They should win, protect the field at home. And now you get a backup quarterback. And then from there, you see what you want. And, this ticket is taking on a life of its own. I hope it wins. It's not going to change my life if it loses. It's not that much money. But the hate for like a month now on Notre Dame, and it's fascinating. I actually tweeted something today. I said, you watch. Notre Dame's going to upset Ohio State, and somebody's going to go, yeah, well, they can't beat the Raiders. They couldn't beat Georgia. They couldn't beat Penn State, and now they can't beat Ohio State. But it's been a fun run, and I mean you've been on this show many times, making a future bet and riding along with it with your friends and people that pay attention to the show. I mean, we've had Braves to win a World Series for my dead fish that I named Paulie, and the Braves came all the way and won the World Series. We had Kansas one year to win a college tournament. We had that Alabama Georgia free roll. We had a Gonzaga Baylor free roll. The Heat to win the East. We had Sabalenka to win an Australian Open. Like, there's nothing more fun for me than making a future bet and having that ride with people like you listening right now that are just a part of it. Like, that's why we started this show, to bet with our friends and make good bets that put us in a position to do other stuff. And if it wins, I'll be fine. If it loses, I'll be fine, but it's about the ride. It is.
Oh, well, like you said, buy the ticket, take the ride. No question. Take the ride. This should be fun. It should be entertaining. Look, I understand there's a seriousness to sports betting if you're really into it, and you are much more so than I, because you bet more than I do for sure. But there's still a tangible, let's have some fun with this here. And I think it's been great. I think this bet is a lot of fun. I touched on it a bit in the Fox Sports piece that I have up now on the college football playoff for this weekend. I just think it's entertaining as heck, and it's going to be a lot of fun to watch this game. A bunch of us are going over to Naked City Pizza and the Office Bar on Monday night to watch the game. A bunch of us are going to be there. So, and I don't know if, not everybody's necessarily going to be privy to your bet, but I'm going to be rooting for Notre Dame. Maybe I'll even bust out the, Lucky Charms baseball hat. Take that with me just in case I need it. You never know how much, how many little charms you need to get this here. But no, that's the thing. This is riveting, I think. And I can't even imagine what it's going to be like to be you if this is the kind of game that we all hope it is, that it's a good close game and it's a one-score game. And I mean, if it unfolds like Penn State Notre Dame did, that was a really great game to watch, and down to the wire and some back and forth. And, I just hope we get an awesome game. But in the end, I do want to see you cash that ticket, because then I know the drinks are on you the next time you're out here.
Wow.
That's what's important, right?
Thanks, Ed. Yes. I don't have much else to ask you about. I appreciate you making time for me. I know you're busy. But if you think I'm just going to gloss over that Irish brogue and not address it, you are.
Oh, I know. I'm not. It's not that. That
was very good. I thought it was very good.
Okay, well, I appreciate that. I don't normally get that. I do try.
Come on, give me something else. What else you got?
Me and my Lucky Charms rooting for the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame. Notre Dame is French, but we're going to steal it for a weekend, Sammy. And then we'll down a pint of Guinness and chase it with a little Jameson. Oh, we'll be so lit up on Monday night should you win. Fancy that, Sammy. Fancy that.
We will. And I admitted this today. The reason I don't want to go, I've got some buddies that went to Notre Dame and played at Notre Dame, and they're trying to get me down there on Monday. And I know myself too well. So I think I'm learning. If I actually went down there to the game and we started pre-gaming and we started getting after it, and I'm hanging around with these guys, not only will I not hedge, I will bet more Notre Dame. So I'll go into the stadium with even more on Notre Dame, and like that does not need to happen. So I'm handicapping myself at this point and staying right here at home.
All right, I think that's probably a pretty good idea. I do hope that somehow, whether it's fluky or not, Notre Dame gets out like 10-0 or something like that. And I know you don't want to hedge and you don't need to hedge. And I'm not telling you to hedge. I just hope Notre Dame's up 10-0, something fluky, 10-0, 13-0 early, and you're like, okay. Let's see what's going on in game.
Yeah. Oh, let's check the in-game odds. Like, no, I'm not good at the Irish. So I bring in Corbie Craig now, who is the second half of our experience tonight. I wanted you two to meet each other. I don't know
how am I supposed to come in mid-Irish? You can't catch me in all that.
I bailed on my Irish to bring you in and say hi to Patrick, and Patrick say hi to Corbie. The one thing that Corbie has not done, we've done some business together. We've made some money together. Corbie has not been to one of our Super Bowl parties, though, in Vegas, Patrick, that you've been to a couple. So, Corbie, the one Super Bowl, we were just getting after it. Were you there the year Rondé and Tiki were there, Patrick? Did you make an appearance that year?
Yes, I was there.
And he was writing this story, and everybody around him is just getting it in. And I'm like, Patrick, have a drink with us. He's like, no, I can't. He's sitting in the room. He's sitting at the party writing a story. I'm like, dude, go get a drink. And you're making me uncomfortable right now. So he goes and gets one, and then the party, continued into the night. But our guy was clacking away during the middle of a Super Bowl party.
Absolutely.
Though I respect that. Did you just say Tiki Barber? You were just casually drinking with him, and I haven't been invited to one of these parties. Like, what are we doing here? Tiki Barber is like that's a childhood icon of mine. Come on, that was like peak Tiki Barber was like peak Corbie learning what sports are. So that's insane. It's just a casual flex. You had the brothers there.
It wasn't it wasn't that cool. The way it unfolded was, and I've told this story before on the show. That's actually one of my favorite episodes of Chicken Dinner, the Super Bowl recap. John Murray calls me because we did a party. We started doing the party in like 2019, and then the COVID year, I think we didn't do it, but then we did one in 2001, 2, and 3, and then didn't do it last year because the game was in Vegas. So it was just, the prices were insane and corporate was coming and buying everything out. But it was the 22 Super Bowl, maybe. I get a phone call from John Murray, and he goes, hey, it's cool if you say no, but do you mind if Tiki and Rondé Barber watch the game with you guys? And I went, yeah, like, what, of course it's,
Let me think about that.
Of course. Well, they were doing work with the Superbook. They were doing their podcast there. I don't think they still do it, but Patrick, they were cool dudes. I think they were a little shocked at how degenerate the room was.
Sure.
Because my one buddy had thousands of dollars on the national anthem over, and they were like, the game hasn't even started yet. And this room is already explosive.
And I've got the stopwatch going. And
one guy had 20 grand on the over.
Oh my gosh.
And then you had the guy on the stopwatch, and then the guy backing up the guy on the stopwatch. And They probably left that game thinking those people are all insane.
But it's a Super Bowl, and everybody's got a ton of prop tickets at the same time. Corby, I don't want to step on your time, so I'm going to bow out in a second here, but I want to relay from the Bengals Rams.
I'm all for stories.
Two quick stories. One, Bengals Rams. Before the playoffs started that year, since he was kind of getting hot, and I think I bet him at like 30-1 to win the Super Bowl. And so I was just waiting the whole game for a chance to come back the other way on the Rams in game. And I finally got it when I think since he went up 20-16 or something like that. And I was able to get some plus money on Rams in game and hedge and win money. And it was great. And then in the Eagles Chiefs Super Bowl, this was the best. I bet in the Super Bowl every year, stupid bet, Corby, that there will be an octopus, a player who scores a touchdown and subsequently scores the 2-point conversion. Late in the game, last touchdown of regulation, Hurts gets in the end zone, goes in with the 2-point conversion. We all go freaking bananas. Everybody's coming up to me because they know I'm the only one stupid enough to bet that with like real money. And so they're all Matt Humans and Sammy and everybody else is coming up and high-fiving me. It's hilarious. It was great. You definitely have to get out here for the Super Bowl.
Two things. First off, to have two stories and they both be positive within your time betting, that's always great. So didn't expect that. Second, as you can see, I have a Christmas tree up. So as you can assume, I'm a free man to travel anytime, anywhere. So you guys let me know where the party is, and I can be there in about 6 hours. So always down, a good time, especially if Tiki Barber's there. You just hit me with the smoke signal, and I will be there.
That was just stars aligning. Patrick, thank you so much for joining us. And thanks. We got the count right now.
Nice
Almost 2,000 people are watching live on YouTube and X. So thank you for sharing the links, and say that prayer for your boy, for the Irish.
Oh, I will. My son's halfway through a 7-year program of Catholic seminary, so he's all Catholic up. I'll tell him to drop a prayer for you too.
All right. Hey,
little known fact about me, and gosh knows I need it. Ugh. You guys take care. Have a great week.
All right. There goes Patrick Everson, Vegas Insider, Fox Sports. Let's get through some comments here. Corbie Craig at Corbie BO.
Did you laugh at the meme I sent you?
Did you text it or what?
Yeah. The eyes emoji.
Oh, the side eye?
Yeah, I thought it was pretty fun.
I thought you sent another text. So let's knock some comments out here. First one is from Luke, who says, the tree is still up.
It's going down this weekend. That's almost a certainty. So that's good. We had a good week on the Bet US show. So it will be coming down. But I have enjoyed it because it gets me a lot of very random interactions, which, that's what we're here for. Sam? If you could have 20 more people comment on your video a week, you do it. Even if they're calling you stupid, you'd still do it. And so it's been pretty funny to watch people get mad about it.
Alex Smith, Hawks 11 straight first period overrun. He has been talking about this for obviously 11 straight games. The 11th one came earlier this week against Calgary. There were 4 goals in the first 20 minutes, and they play again tonight. That is a 8:07 puck drop, I think. So if you're looking to get involved and keep the streak alive with Alex and the guys over at the Ice Guys, Blackhawks first period over, as OzLogic is taking a second to load here. But I believe he says in the comment, -120. How do you feel about that when you're late to a trend like this and it's hit 11 in a row? Are you one of those guys that just blindly hops in, or do you say, nah, it's going to end?
As we're talking, I'm betting it, so that should tell you a little bit about it. But okay. I will say, it's just for fun. I like Alex. He seems like a great guy. Shout out Alex. He also loves chicken dinner, so great dude. But I think there's legitimacy behind some. Usually you're hopping in too late, but if you have conviction behind what's happening, and he obviously does because he keeps talking about it. And listen, unless it started at +60 and now it's -20. If I'm getting a relative juice normal to what it was at the start, obviously trends are hearsay, but maybe there's a reason this team starts so fast. I don't know. I couldn't tell you the last time I watched a hockey game, Sam.
Well, you are tonight. So did you get? I'm looking at the prices right now. It looks like there's a couple 120s left, but mostly 25 and 30. What did you get?
25.
25. Okay. Yeah, I bet some 25 as well a little bit earlier. Chicago is just so bad defensively. I mean, they play defense like the way the Warriors play defense when they don't make their shots. They just don't get back. It's just like you're at a track.
The entire NBA.
Yeah, basically. So yeah, that's the price right there. This is 17 and 18, Chicago and Nashville, and first period over. If you can get that minus 125, maybe minus 130. Alex is riding that one and has been for 11 straight games. Chicago Blackhawks first period overs, which got a nice comment from Andrew, who says, lock in Alex. Let's see. We got Ryan, who said, Sammy won me a UConn future a few years ago. Yes, we did. And nice. Dan says, when Notre Dame wins, we need a chicken dinner St. Patrick's Day shirt to drop.
I agree. Agreed.
Did I tell you I was working on a Corbie shirt?
No, that's terrifying.
Man. What do you mean?
It's terrifying.
How's that terrifying?
It depends how it goes. If you have a Christmas tree in the background, I like it more. And if not, it'll be fun. I still need to get one of those. The cleanest thing I will say, Sammy P, graphic designer, 100%. The purple chicken hoodie is as fire as can be. So do appreciate that. So it can't be too bad.
Speaking of the Chicken Dinner merch store, which I don't believe I've plugged in a very long time, those hoodies are, I'm being told, completely restocked. I guess there was a downsizing at one of the factories for Teespring, so they didn't have the hoodies for a little bit. But I'm guessing everything is full go. Let me just go ahead and share this right here for you on Teespring, and yeah, here's the one that Corbie's talking about. Bang, right there. That is the Minnesota Vikings, Sacramento Kings, LA Lakers, TCU Horned Frogs. That is the one right there. The purple chicken hoodie. You could change all these colors too. This is the
Purple
only
plays.
thing I take in for money, along with my hot sauce payments under the table. But you got green, you got the Carolina blue, you got the red. Yeah, man, I'm glad you brought those hoodies up. I got to get you one. I'm surprised I haven't sent you one on the house.
I meant to buy one, but when I was typing in my address, I moved and I typed in the wrong zip code, and I'm the laziest guy you'll ever meet, so I just didn't look up what my new zip code is. Don't dox me. But no, that purple fires can be. The blue's pretty nice, so I'm gonna have to, especially if there's a Corbie one coming out, we'll have to figure something out. Put it under some Christmas trees, hypothetically.
All right, and this is from Jerry. We won the KU future years ago, and we'll go 2 for 2 on the Irish. Buddy, I hope so. Before we get into the basketball here, I'm curious what you think about the side or the total on Monday. I love your totals, and I'm wishy-washy on your sides, but what do you make the total in Ohio State and Notre Dame?
Yeah, right at the number. It's honestly like a throwaway. I think it was like 46.9. So it makes sense. I will say a couple things about the game. If people know, like, I was a pretty big Texas fan, pretty big Quinn Ewers fan, which I heard he got offered $8 million. And if that's true, like, stay in college. I like Quinn Ewers a lot, but $8 million, you're not going to get that in the league. I will say from the stuff I've watched, I heard you earlier talking about, like, everyone hated Ohio State, and now, like, I see people talking about this is one of the best teams they've ever seen from a momentum standpoint. I'm like, listen, make up your mind. I don't care which one you choose.
Right?
You can't be both of those things. I will say they have some of the best talent ever. Like, but at the end of the day, like, Will Howard is their quarterback. Like, I heard comparisons to LSU, prime LSU, and I'm like, y'all are smoking crap.
Joe
like,
Burrow was the quarterback of LSU.
What are we talking about here? It's Will Howard. Like, so I don't know. My biggest thing is, like, simulations of extreme events. So, like, what happens if you take out the most extreme events on both sides of that game? Ohio State doesn't score a screen for 75 yards with 13 seconds left in the half. They don't score on a scoop and score for 99 yards. Now that game is tied. So, like, are we exaggerating that game was a blowout? I got heckled for making the game closer to Texas 2, and they lost by 14. But, like, what is the true score there? I thought Texas looked good for quite some time. So, and that was all without Golden, like, for almost 4 quarters, and Isaiah Bond was in and out, which that was kind of hearsay. But Golden out is like their entire offense. So I don't know. I'm not buying that Ohio State train as much as everyone else. My biggest issue and why I sent you the meme was, like, I mean, we can make fun of Will Howard, but I mean, Riley Leonard hasn't thrown the football farther than like my sister can throw the football. So I worry that my sister's got an arm, Sammy. I worry that Riley isn't a national championship quarterback, and that would be my real worry here.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's obvious. They need to turn you over. They've done it all year. Notre Dame has turned teams over 32 times. They have a turnover margin of plus 17. That's insanely good. That's 1.13 turnovers per game. That will win you a lot of football games. Ohio State's turnover margin is plus 4. So that's the key. You have to pressure the quarterback, get to the quarterback, force him into some high-risk throws, maybe force a fumble, see what happens. I do think Ohio State is going to struggle maybe inside the red zone to score. Now, if you hit those home runs and you hit those 40-yard touchdown passes, forget it. I mean, if this is in fact LSU-esque with Jefferson and Chase and you're just hitting go routes, forget it.
Yeah.
But I don't know, like Notre Dame's defense inside the 20 is very, very good.
Yeah, my worry is like I think this steaming over a little bit. It hasn't really been much, but it's like kind of steam is Ohio State-esque. Like I think if this game goes over, Ohio State probably was in charge. They probably had some home run balls, but I will say like Will Howard made some good 9-yard outs, 9-yard post. Like I don't think that he puts his receivers in a position to just like make insane play. He just has insane receivers, but he was making the right decision. Like I would be surprised if he turns the ball over a ton. Notre Dame's going to need that. Judkins seems to, I don't want to say like he doesn't have very many turnovers, but like it does feel like he holds the ball out in space a little bit. Does that come back to bite him in the single game that it possibly could? Probably not. That's the worry. If this goes under, I think it's Notre Dame through and through. If over, it's Ohio State.
Yeah. Well, you know what I need. Everybody knows what I need. No need to talk anymore about it. Let's go Irish. I know. Let's get it. All right. College basketball. Back to the board. We go. ... A lot of games already underway. I love looking at the board like this when it just lights up like the tree behind Corbie's shoulder. A lot of games in ball right now. But for maybe a game that hasn't started, this is your favorite part of the slate anyways. Good Lord. Like I imagine you talking about Cal Baptist and Tarleton State or something
I
like
actually
that.
have a good point on that exact game, Sammy.
Really?
And we didn't talk about this. It's not, I mean, I bet very small, but and it was a side. So, you know, what is that number side there?
It is moving up right now to a juice 3.5 on Cal Baptist.
Yeah, that means so Freddie Hicks was supposed to play for Tarleton tonight. He dressed up. He went through warm-ups last game. Freddie Hicks is Tarleton's entire team. The coach in the preseason said, like, this team without Freddie Hicks is a completely different team. He's supposed to be back. If it's juicing right now, I'm assuming he's not warming up, and that's why it's juicing, which would be bad. They need him. So, honestly, I'm going to go check after this. Not betting that if it's moving right now.
Well, you got 5 minutes, so I don't want to hold you from any action here.
No, you're good. I bet some Tarleton 4, so I'm not too worried about the move. The move down was because people assumed Freddie Hicks was going to play. Move up means he's not playing, which is great. Meaning Saturday, Freddie Hicks will play against Grand Canyon. The opener won't have that priced in. Tarleton will be a significantly better team. So for Saturday, we won't be here. Remember that Tarleton will be a pretty good buy low.
Rocco Sal is asking, how's this kid know Freddie Hicks?
I know everybody.
I know everybody. This is his life, buddy, Rocco. This is his life. College hoop.
Hey, you want to talk about know everybody? This is what I was hoping to talk about on the show, but it kind of broke. It actually broke up a lot before we could get to it. This morning there was the great battle of Northwestern injury reports. Did you see this on the Twitter sphere?
No, I did not.
Yeah, I assumed it was kind of just in my bubble. But basically, somebody came out and said Northwestern's best player, Brooks Barnhizer, was out. And that was like a shocker. I mean, what happened to him? He played last game. He was fine. Then the guy said it might be a season-ending injury. So everyone's like, what the hell? This team's all the way up to 4. I saw 3.5, 4. I bet on that. It's just like some, Twitter. I mean, the guy has been right for quite some time. Reached out, mutual friend of a friend, somehow plays on Northwestern. So found out Brooks Barnhizer is not hurt. So it has now steamed back. What is it, 2?
Yep, Maryland 2 at Northwestern. 2.5 at a couple places.
I played some Northwestern 4. What's the total there?
139.5, 140.
Yeah, that's not good. I was hoping to get a 3.5 on the show. 3 would be fine. 2.5, like we're kind of close. This game was Northwestern basically pick Maryland 1 before the whole Barnheiser situation happened. Now, like, he's good, and it's 2. So, like, I mean, you're scraping for value, but 2.5, like, you could do worse there for sure. Sammy,
Anything else you want to share?
Does your fancy board have live in-game numbers? We got some, or second half numbers, I guess. We have some halftime games. I would be curious what your number is.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure these are all. What game do you need?
Let's look at 801, 802, Merrimack, Quinnipiac.
Looks like
the most fun game on the board.
Basically a pick 'em, 72.5.
What can we get the side second half?
I mean, you could take. Who do you need?
Quinnipiac.
You could take 1.5 at DraftKings, 1.5 at FanDuel second half.
Dog or favorite?
Dog.
Okay. Yeah, it would be
pick 'em at circa.
Let's call it under. Let's call it under.
72.5.
I like it under 72.5. Merrimack has COVID issues, so it was announced pretty late. No one cares because who's watching the Merrimack warm-ups? They had COVID issues, a few people sick. This should play slow. It played fast in the first half. They're starting to kind of like let the air out of the ball. They don't have a really deep bench. Like, how do they continue this? I'm not sure that they do. So under 72 would be fine. As I say this, I bet an Illinois State under last night from some injury or some sickness. Kid stops in the middle of the game, Sammy, looks at the ref, says, injury, sprints off the court. I have pictures of it, throws up. It still went over.
Wow.
So sometimes people being sick doesn't really matter too much. You gotta trust the number. You gotta trust the injury report or your guys saying that somebody's sick. Merrimack definitely has COVID. Not the school itself, but players on the team. I'm thinking under there, 72.
All righty. I appreciate you making time for me. It's good to see you in back-to-back weeks. And just get me some Notre Dame. Will you take the tree down and get me some Irish?
I'm down. Hey, Monday I'll shoot you a text. I'm excited for it. I had no action on the game, so if anybody knows, I had Texas futures. I had Texas futures all year. So I'm out. So I got nothing to root for. The best thing I can do is root against Ohio State. Hey, they beat my boys. People started talking crap about Quinn Ewers. I was upset about it. So fighting Irish, play like a champ today. So I'm excited for it. I'll be rooting with you here. Also, I'm excited for the shirt. How long until we see the shirt? The
shirt will be here in time. Don't worry. We'll have the shirt up and we'll get you a hoodie, a purple one.
Cool. All right. I appreciate it.
Go follow at Corbie BO. Kid's a wizard, man. He knows all. He's pulling guys out of teams I've never heard of. Freddie Hicks. How about that? As for football this week, I put 3 of the plays out. Not going to add any more. I don't know why I said it like that. Commanders over 22.5. I think that they know that they need at least 28. They're just going to be aggressive as all hell on fourth down. So I do like that number. It's floating up offshore like 23.5. There's still some 22.5s in market. I'm on the Eagles -6, and I took the high point, I believe, of the market on the Buffalo Bills getting 1.5 against the Baltimore Ravens. I love looking at this ticker and seeing almost 2,200 of you watching live. Thanks to Patrick Everson. Thanks to Corbie Craig. Most importantly, thanks to you. And if Notre Dame wins, I will be a very, very happy boy on Monday night. Cash some tickets, make some money. We'll talk to you next time right here on Chicken Dinner.